What's up my loves, my name is Paige, this is Paige with the Page, and today we're going to be doing my April wrap up. Hello my darlings, welcome to this video. I apologise, I'm bulk filming, I cannot be fucked in change. Normally I will just swap jumpers, but I don't even have the spoons for that today, so I apologise. But I want to talk through the 24 books that I read in the month of April. So please strap yourself in, this is going to be rapid fire once again, because I had an unexpectedly amazing reading month. So we'll talk about the stats and then dive into the books themselves. So like I said, I read 24 books in the month of April, which was exactly the same as the month of March. However, I read 6,210 pages, which was 2,000 pages less, which I'm completely fine with. This was definitely getting through some of those shorter reads, and I will talk through where some of these other ones come into, but it equated to being 207 pages a day, and it works out to be 258 pages per book. I acquired 6 new books, 4 of them are unread and 2 that I have read. My average rating was a 4.29 and I listened to 62 hours of audiobook. In terms of genre, I had 1 contemporary, 5 erotica, 4 fantasy, 2 graphic novels, 1 horror, 2 non-fiction, 6 romances and 3 sci-fis. So a very odd reading month for me, but that's fine. I had listened to 8 purely straight audiobooks. I read 2 solely ebooks. I read 1 physical book with no audio, and I listened to 13 books and read along physically, so 13 immersion reads. I read 1 middle grade, 4 young adult, and 19 adult titles. 14 of these books I had read from the author before, and 10 of them were new to me. But I did read a new to me author and then proceeded to read 4 books after that. I had 1 book that was a 2-star read, 1 that was a 2.5, 2 that were 3.5s, 4 4 stars, 9 4.5 stars, and 7 5 stars. I read 1 book that was a companion, 7 books that were standalones. I started 4 new series but decided to DNF 1 of those. I had 6 continuations in series. I caught up on 1 series and I finished 3. So I'm just, yes. I had 13 books in the hundreds page range. I had 3 in the 200s, 3 in the 300s, 3 in the 400s, and 2 in the 500s. And I read 3 2025 acquisitions, 11 backlist titles, 7 library books, and 3 other. So with those stats, let's talk about these books. I have changed it up this year and I go through my reviews based off my rating. So going from lowest to highest, so if you'd like to just skip to the end, then you'll be able to see my highestly rated. So the first one I'm absolutely gutted by, and that is Here Be Leviathans by Chris Flynn. I ended up giving this a 2 stars. I thought it was going to be a 2.5, but I run it 3 quartile today, and nah. This was just not my vibe. It's a collection of short stories that there are some interesting moments to it, but I'm not the right demographic for this. It was definitely a struggle to get through, and I did leave this to last because it was a non-audiobook read, so I didn't do it any service for that. I did like the platypus and the astronaut stories the most out of here, and that's what kicked it up. But yeah, it was a little too abstract for my liking and just didn't really hit in the way that I thought was going to be from their other works. So I read Mammoth by them and absolutely really loved it. I thought it was so funny and unique. This was just a little too abstract and just not my vibe, unfortunately. And I'm so gutted because like I got to meet them and he signed it, but it kind of gave me the bit of an ick. So this was a 3.1 in core pile, but a 2 stars for my 5-star scale. Then I seriously tried Dune by Frank Herbert. I ended up giving this a 2.5 stars or a 4.2 in core pile, so core pile is out of 10. I just didn't give enough of a fuck at all. Like the entire time I was reading it, there was just nothing drawing me in. I felt no intrigue for the story. I just kept going because it was for the Storygraph challenge and it was one of the big books, but I'm not going to continue on with this series. No. I have no recollection of this, even though it was one of the last things I finished reading. I just had 0 fucks to give. And yeah, it was outside my comfort zone, and I'm glad that I tried it. I gave it a go, and it didn't go well for me. But I can see the merit in it, and I can see why people do love this, and I do understand that it had a lot of foundations for sci-fi. I'm wondering if this is similar to Lord of the Rings, where I might actually enjoy the visual media for telling this story more, because it will just, I don't have to get lost in the weeds with it. Then one that surprised me is The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. I ended up giving this a 3.5 stars, and that was a 6.4 in core pile, and I genuinely enjoyed this more than I thought I was going to. It was a very easy read. I did get myself confused because I go and note like the protagonist's name in my reading journal and I couldn't recall it, but then I've looked it up and they're not actually mentioned, so I'm like, okay, I wasn't just going nuts and I thought I had disengaged from it because I never heard that name. But no, that's the point. I did find it a little bit hard to visualize some of these things, so having a quick Google search really did make it easier, because it was the very stereotypical sci-fi aliens that I was aware of. And overall, I didn't dislike it. It just wasn't my vibe, but not in a way that I was like dreading getting through it. It was just one that I could listen to. Originally, I was going to listen to the radio production that was put on, and I tried to read along and then realized very quickly that no, that's an abbreviated version. It's not the same at all. So I ended up switching that off, finding an audiobook and reading along with it, and it was a good read. The next read was A River of Royal Blood by Amanda Joy, and I gave this a 3.5, and it was a 6.5 in core pile. I found this to be quite I've read this story before, but it was unique enough that I still found it to be quite interesting. The world itself is very unique to me and from what I've read, but in terms of fighting sisters, I'm like, yeah, that story I've consumed before. But I think it was really interesting, and I'm curious to continue on with the next book in the duology. But I don't have too many thoughts. This one could very easily just fall by the wayside, but if I do pick up the second one, I would like to do it sooner rather than later so that it's still fresh in my mind. Then I read Manu by Kelly Ferdinands. This was a very cute graphic novel. I gave it 4 stars and it came out as a 7.2 on core pile. I just really like seeing these characters' friendship and finding out their history and why their magic is the way that it is. It wasn't one that is gonna stick with me for a long time, but I thought it was cute and I enjoyed it. I definitely needed it when I read it because that was helping me to bleach my brain from one of my further reads, so that was great. And then I also have The Baker and the Bard, which is written by Fern Hort. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I didn't actually write it down. And again, gave this a 4 stars and a 7.2 in core pile. It was just another graphic novel that I needed to pick up because I had to change my magical readathon TBR quite quickly, and so I picked it up. It was a good fun time, it was cozy, it was very much what I needed in that moment, and I really enjoyed seeing them question their gender and just the way that gender diversity was present within the world. That was really cool and just authentically flowed, and I did really enjoy the squirrel aspect where they're going on a particular quest and then get a little bit sidetracked, so that was a lot of fun. Then I have How Do You Live by Genzaburo Yoshino, and I ended up giving this a 4 stars, and this came out as a 7.4 in core pile. I really liked this narrative. It was really beautiful in getting to think a little bit more philosophically. I really enjoyed Copper and his uncle's dynamic and just existing in this moment. It was one that came up for a feed scroll for Tale of Two Trails, so I wasn't anticipating on reading this, but it was just something that I could consume and just really enjoyed the reading process of it, having those little bit more reflective moments and just pondering on life as a whole. So that was lovely. Then technically I have the first book, another book, and then the second book in the Mindfuck series, but in terms of core pile rating, I'm just putting that as a 4.5 star series, so I'll skip over those and go to the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix, and I gave this a 4 stars and a 7.8 from core pile. And this book broke me. So my Patreons voted for reading books with fruit on the cover, and I had put this in for a different Aurelian prompt, but decided to tick it off at the same time. And this is where I needed the graphic novels, because this book broke me in such a way that I haven't experienced for a very long time. I'm not a horror reader, so I don't feel like I can comment on how horror this is, but for me it was horrific. Like the descriptions just sent me, and I was talking about it, trying to figure out why it had fucked me up so much, and it is the fact that everything else was so normal, and then you have this one paranormal element, and I figured it out last night while talking with Ash as well, that I have a visual drawing point from a movie that I've seen that scared the shit out of me, so it feels real. My biggest thing when I was growing up was it was very hard for me to differentiate between fiction and reality, and I'm definitely a lot better at it, but this just hit all of the right pressure points in my brain to go, but and I was broken. There was yeah, if anyone's read this, please talk to me about it, because I need to know if I'm justified in being as creeped out and horrified as I am, because, and it's also just like the way that the women are treated in this just fucking sent me, because it's real. That is real. That is the commentary. That is the point of this, and it frustrates me how inhumanized they are when there are men that are actually not human walking around committing atrocities. Obviously I don't want to go into details because of spoilers, but like, yo, this messed me up to the point that I didn't know if it was going to be the lowest rated book on this list, the highest rated, or sit somewhere in the middle. So we've gone fucking smack bang in the middle, because fuck me. Which also had tied in for my next rating, which was The Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie Robert, which I gave a 4.5 stars and an 8 through Call Pile. So this is the bind up of 3 for the Bloodline series, and so there's 3 books in this. Whoa. I learned some valuable information about myself, and one of that is I can't do blood play. Like, so we've had vampires. This I read earlier, like at the very beginning of the month. I think it was the first thing that I read, and vampires, and I need to take a time out for the moment till I mentally recuperate from this shit. I love this, like I love Katie Robert, but I also can see that this was not probably their earliest works, but not to the same caliber that it is that I know her writing to be, and I will talk about it as we go throughout this list. But the narrator for this had me sent, but also at points it was like they walk into the bathroom and they described it as a massacre. They look like they'd been in a massacre. I'm like, that is not how you want your sexy times to be. You don't want to come out of your sexy times looking like you've been in a massacre. I understand, it's fine, they're vampires, but my brain, it just so this was an experience for me for sure. I still love Katie's writing. I loved the characters. I loved where we went with this, and I loved getting to see some characters that I know from other places. But god diggity damn, goddamn. So I then have the next 3 Mindfuck series books, so I'll talk about all of them here. So The Risk I gave 4 stars, and that was a 7.7. The Sidetracked, which was book 2, I gave 4 stars, and that was a 7.8. Then Scarlet Angel I gave 4.5 stars, and it was an 8 in Core Pile. All These Lies was a 4.5 and an 8.1. And Painted All Red was 4.5 and an 8.1. And just this series, amazing. Like, I read this and then read a Southern Book Club's guide, and I was living my best life with this. Absolutely living. I am completely here for women's revenge stories. Like, just, yes, I am okay with women doing wrong as long as it's fictional. Because, whoo, but the way that we ended this series was just, oh my god, I could not put these down. I ended up listening to, I feel so bad, I listened to the 3 audiobooks through YouTube because I just needed to consume this media without reading it, and it was a grand time. I had so much fun with this series. Like, absolutely fucking loved it. Did not expect to be at this point, and I am figuring that probably unhinged women in the way of this level of kind of unhinged is where I need to be reading. And I'm very much here for serial killer romances now. I've got to suspend my disbelief for like some components of this. Obviously she meets up with an FBI guy, he's investigating her case. Like, you just gotta suspend the disbelief for a while there. But it was so fun. And that is not what I expected to come out of this series with, but I am so happy that I got to read this. Then I have The River of Silver by S.A. Chakraborty, and gave this a 4.5 stars and an 8.2 from Corpile. I had no intentions of reading this, like none. And I'd read my River book earlier in the month, but then I realized I wasn't going to be able to get to The Quicksilver Court by Melissa Caruso, so I swapped in and just listened to this audiobook. It was so lovely being back with these characters. I think the diehard fans of the David Bad trilogy will really appreciate it, and I also really appreciate that each of the stories starts with whether it's going to be spoilers and for which books. So you could go through and figure out where they're actually going to lie and listen to them after reading each of the books, and I feel like that would do this justice. But for those that have already read the trilogy, and there is a chance you could spoil yourself, because like if it goes for this is set after this and spoilers for Kingdom of Copper, then you know you gotta pause and move on. But I think it would really enhance the reading experience, and I know that the diehard fans are really gonna love this because we just are following various different characters in various points throughout this entire trilogy, and it was a lot of fun. And then the next section was the other component of my reading vlogs for my Patreons, and that was binge reading Katie Roberts. So like I said, I did Court of the Vampire Queen. These were all 4.5 stars and an 8.5 in Corpile. So I had the Succubus Surprise, the Demon's Bargain, and the Demon's Queen. I should have realized this is the last book in the series. Was not mentally prepared to finish the series because I have been loving it. These are monster romances. We're following a succubi, a demon, and another demon, and just all of their different dynamics just make me so unbelievably happy. We have a working with religious trauma and undoing that, but also just experiencing love and life in a wholehearted way, in a way that feels authentic to yourself. And double-ended fire dildos, is that what we're talking about? A double-sided fire dildo. Like, need I say more? We had magical pegging. We had a daddy baby girl kink, and I learned something valuable about myself, and that is I can't pair those kinks together. I don't mind a baby girl kink. I cannot pair them with a daddy kink though. That just is not my vibe. I'm not gonna ick on your yum if that's what you enjoy. I just found that when I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is a thing that I am now aware of. Didn't really hinder my enjoyment of it because I loved Azazel, and it was a really lovely conclusion. I see a lot of reviews being like, oh my god, this is like the big bad guy that we've been like so afraid of this entire time. He's a simp. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. He's been a simp this entire time. He's just got to come across as doing the thing, but really he's like a soft cinnamon roll. Otherwise he wouldn't have done this. But regardless, I had a glorious time. There is like dubious consent, is that how she describes it? Yeah, it was just a very fun time. So I had a glorious time finishing off this series. Oh, there's doggos. Oh, there's two. Then I have Come As You Are by Emily Nagotsky, and gave this a 4.5 and an 8.5 in Corpile. And I really enjoyed majority of this. I do understand that a lot of people comment on the level of metaphors and the various kinds, but I think that works for me because it brings it in different ways so that you can reflect on which one fits best for yourself, or multiple. It just really depends. The thing that got me at the end though was I struggled to feel like asexuality was accepted. Like, I could just be misreading, but it's like, yeah, that's a thing, but you can make yourself feel sexual desire by doing these different things. And maybe if you remove some of the things off your brake and hit your accelerator a little bit more, you'll be more inclined to have sexual desire. And I was just like, but what if you don't? That's fine. Apologies, losing life. rapidly. I had so many takeaways. It was an absolutely amazing book, and I do think that there is so much to learn from this, and I also got the workbook just to see what that was, but I would love to see a little bit more understanding in that regard. They do acknowledge about the trans experience as well, and say that, you know, this is what they're referring to, you know, as long as you feel confident in your body and the way that you feel is the most important to creating sexual desire and things like that. So they touch on it, but acknowledge that there's also not a lot of evidence at the moment and that science needs to do more. So, very fascinating book. And then I have Terrier by Tammora Pierce, and gave this a 4.5 stars and an 8.7 on Corpile. I loved this. I loved seeing Becca's character. I loved being back in the Shortell universe. I also really enjoyed that it's entirely epistolary style, because it sort of just highlights the main important things about Becca and her experiences. I loved the dogs and how they are like treated as pups and like to go fetch. Oh, it was a great time, and I really enjoyed seeing Becca's shyness, the fact that she can't just get up and talk to people, but she really wants to do a good job being one of the dogs, but she has to overcome this. And so it was just really lovely seeing her grow and do her thing and just be a really authentic character without having the background that is usually accompanied. It's just her journaling. So she'll talk about like important shit, but it's only in relevance to her context and what's needed to know. So I thought that was a really clever way of getting this information in. I do feel like I have a higher appreciation for this because I'm coming from a love of Alana the First Adventurer, so I do have an understanding of where the world ends up, even if that's not exactly the same for where it starts in this, but because these are prequels. So I'll be just curious to see how we go with the rest of the series. Then I have Sweet Obsession by Katie Robert, which was a 4.5 and an 8.7 again in Corpile. I just love this. I love the Dark Olympus series. It makes me so fucking happy. Poseidon and Icarus's dynamic is just on point. I adored Poseidon's autism rep and his stimming and just the way that they go about it. I had a glorious time. I also, after reading all of the Deal with the Demon and The Court of the Vampire Queen, I was very much over the narrator for those books, and I had one book left that was Wicked Pursuit, and I couldn't do it because it was the same audiobook narrator. This was 2 gens, and it just works. It was a glorious time. I'm curious to see where we go. The plot is definitely thickening, and I'm just really excited to see where we end up because we only have 2 books left, and I'm really not okay with that fact, but loved it. These, whilst they came out as a 4.5 on Corpile, I have marked them as 5 stars on my spreadsheet. I then have Artificial Condition by Martha Wells and gave this a 5 stars. It came out as a 9 on Corpile. I love Murderbot. I'm loving the series. It is so fun, but also like serious at the same time. It's great. I really adore Murderbot's character and how they choose to go about their day. I loved getting to see an additional AI in this and how they interacted as well. Brilliant. I also really found it interesting for finding a little bit more about Murderbot's backstory and where we're going to end up. So I'm curious to really continue on with these novellas. I'm just having a wonderful time with the series. Then I have The Happiest Man on Earth by Eddie Jaku. I gave this a 5 stars and it came out as a 9.1 on Corpile. This also broke me. I needed to read a graphic novel after this because Eddie is just so beautiful. Eddie did pass away, I think 2 years ago now, but he lived to be 100, and he had a little note at the end talking about his 100th birthday that had to be cancelled because of COVID, which just like, oh my god, my soul. But there is no hate in this man. His memoir, and he's recounting all of the atrocities that he saw being a Jewish man during the Nazi regime and the way that they were trying to navigate Germany and get out. And he goes, I will not forgive or forget, but I won't hate, because if I forgive and forget, that erases the millions and millions of lives that were lost during this, but I don't have to hate. Apologies for the start camera change. I needed light. I was dying getting in the dark. I really appreciated Eddie's message. He was so beautiful, and the ending had me absolutely in a chokehold while I was crying, just being like, find kindness in the world, be kindness in the world. That is the only thing anyone could ever ask. And I was just like, thanks bruh, didn't need my feelings, it's fine. And I loved it. It was a warm hug that I didn't know I needed when I needed it, and Eddie's way of writing was just really, really beautiful. I'm currently leaning on the stack as well. Then the final book that I read, I ended up giving 5 stars and came out as a 9.2 on CorePile, and that was A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall, and no one is more surprised than I am. I love this. This had me kicking my feet, squealing with joy, just absolutely living my best life. I've recently re-picked up my cross stitch, so I was working on that, listening to them talk about their needlework and being a particular member. I had so much fun reading this, like absolutely adored it. It was just everything I didn't know I needed in a romance. Like, I know that I love my Katie Roberts and my eroticas and stuff like that, but this is opening a world of things that I think I should be exploring. Like, it was this and the Romance Book Club that surprised me with how much I've loved them recently, and I think I just need the romances that are a little bit different, they approach it in a unique way, to just be fucking glorious. I understand that these characters and their actions are probably not going to be the best a lot of the time, and I was giving them some serious side-eye because, like, the way that they interacted, the way that the reveal happened, I was like, yo, just whoa. So I had a grand time, and like, I don't have to, I can think like, yeah, they were totally hot for each other like prior, and I understand the hurt and the betrayal that they went through, but also then to think about it and go, hold on a second, like, I had done fucked up and admitted it and then made changes. Like, just, yeah, the ending, I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? But I just had a glorious time with it, and I am very, very surprised at how much I loved it, but I did. So this doesn't even fit in frame, but this is a stack of things that I read in the month of April, with a couple of placeholders for the ones that I don't have physically. Holy mother of fuck. Like I said, I just had a fabulous time. I got to read so many fun things for my Patreons this month. It was really a wild ride, but I had so much fun, and I just had to make some amendments throughout because of Magical Readathon and realizing that I can't do vampires for the next 6 years. So yeah, I'm really surprised at the quantity that I read and also the quality that I read. Like, I am glad that I'm having some lower rated reads, just because I then know that I'm being authentic to myself whilst using CorePile to help me get to that point. But yes, they were the 24 things that I read in the month of April. Feel free to leave anything you want to let me know in the comments down below, whether it be about these reads, about your reads. How did your April go? Were you participating in any readathons? Did you complete it? Because of my swipping and swapping and hipping and hubbing, I actually did complete Aurelium, which I am very surprised about. But yes, feel free to leave anything you want to let me know in the comments down below, and if you like this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more of this mess, feel free to subscribe. I'll hopefully see you on my next video or over on my Patreon. Bye!